What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 46 of Unfiltered. I'm your host, ChanManV, and as you can see, I'm the only person here. So we're gonna be doing a solo show today. And are you guys ready for a raw ChanManV release the Chanimal type of show today? I don't think so. Anyways, let me welcome Jeff and Richard to the show. Welcome, Jeff, to the show. I'm terrible at this, man. I gotta get better at this, man.
Though, and that's
Holy
I tried,
shit.
though, man. Awkwardness level. Come on, guys. Seriously.
Release
Awkwardness
the Chanimal? Did that just happen?
You guys ready to release the channel today?
Holy shit.
Awkwardness level. 1 to 10. What was it, man?
Oh my god.
Awkward, it wasn't so bad. You're getting better.
Okay, I'm getting better. All right. I appreciate that.
I don't want to answer that. I'm putting my glasses on. I'm gonna check the chat reaction.
He's not
first.
unfiltered enough yet to answer that question.
Yeah, no.
He's plenty unfiltered enough. Oh
I'm pretty fucking unfiltered right now. Let's be honest.
All right, let me welcome to the show, Richard and Jeff here at EG.iNcontroL. And of course, you can tell that Destiny is not here. He's supposed to be here, so don't be surprised.
I think it was because your April Fools was so convincing. He just thought he'd take the night off.
Richard, I propose a counter theory. Do you think it's that he's lost his passion, even for this?
I think I am certainly conducting my next Broken Promises article about it.
I think so.
He promised he would be here tonight.
He promised to be here and just didn't do it.
Yeah, and
you know what it was, Jeff? I think it was those gossipy comments you made on ITG that got
it just
Steven.
broke him finally.
Exactly.
That was the last straw.
He was so offended that you
He had
you
thick
called
skin
this.
for years, but when that was said, that was the breaking point. Fuck it, I'm going back to cleaning carpets. I can't take this shit.
Oh shit! Oh my god!
I just want to address this thing about me being drunk. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I didn't even know you're drunk. What the fuck, dude?
Oh, I tweeted it.
Listen,
okay, you tweeted it. Okay, all right.
In terms of, I've made some drunk appearances on this show, but not drunk, like a few beers. But like today, I got a call and I totally.
Oh come on, we're not gonna go through this whole story, dude.
No, I'm not gonna tell the full story.
He's really drunk. He met with a bunch of writers.
There was this old dude, an old journalist I know, retired today. He invited me into the city and said, "Do you want to hang out with some other journalists and have a few drinks?" And to me, a few drinks is like 1 or 2 beers. To a 65-year-old journalist, a few fucking drinks is about 40, 50 beers or some shit.
He answered a Craigslist list.
Exactly.
Seeking younger men. He got somebody.
Jeff and EG have the upper hand right now. I need you guys out there to have my back, okay? Because we can't let EG win. They're evil.
All right. Okay.
I need.
How do you know the guy
was
wasn't sponsored by EG? Maybe this is all planned. I sent him.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious.
Resolved.
All right, let's get into.
He was too coherent and professional.
All right, let's get into some topics. Let me give the viewers a rundown of the topics, and then we'll jump into it. We only have Jeff for an hour today, guys, so he's going to have to jet after an hour, but I think we should get plenty of good talking in before then. We're going to start off with some NASL talk, kind of get an update on the current situation, and actually Jeff was trying to get a question in last week, but I didn't actually see your question until then. So we'll start off with some NASL, transition into some huge news with ESL and ESS. Good stuff there, and then some StarCraft 2 news around the scene, some a little bit of maybe the Muslim major talk, and Minigun I think is having some surgery too, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I think Richard might have 1 or 2 things about LoL that we'll get to. Q&A as always at the end, guys, and we're gonna give the subscribers again in this channel just first dibs at Q&A because gotta take care of my subs too. And if the subs are just out of questions, that's when we'll kind of go over to the Reddit thread. I am looking at the Reddit thread questions.
Steven shows up, by the way. What do you think?
What, over under?
He is not going to show up. I will bet.
So I bet he shows up. Well, I don't know. It's actually an hour later today. I was going to say if it was like an hour earlier, then maybe he shows up like an hour into it. But no telling, man. No telling. I think I give it 60% chance he shows.
60% chance he shows.
Yeah.
All right, Sex Panther. I'm gonna wager he doesn't show up, and we'll feed you some lame ass bullshit about him not knowing there was a show tonight.
No, he always knows. That's the one that Steven's actually really reliable knowing that.
No, but I love.
It is every Tuesday, so
it is every Tuesday. That's true.
We can get confused. We can all get.
All right, let's talk some NASL, guys. So,
Yeah.
like I was saying, Jeff, you had definitely had a question about just I guess when we were talking about actually we weren't talking about NASL last week. We talked about it the week before, I think, when TB was on it. But during Q&A, I think you wanted to, I guess have that question asked, and I didn't see it until afterwards. But then you posted a Reddit thread the following day just saying how disappointed you were, I guess, about our journalists, including Richard here in our community, not really finding out, I guess, more. I just started investigating just why all this stuff's happening with NASL. So yeah, well, I'll just have you kind of lead into it, Jeff, and I guess your thoughts on it and that sort of bit.
Well, it's interesting. There's a reason why those guys are paid to write, and I simply am not. I think it was misleading and poorly written. I think I stand by the spirit of it. I am. It's two parts disappointment, but I think the majority of disappointment is actually not necessarily with the journalists, but more with the community. Not necessarily, and it's weird to direct disappointment towards the community because that's always then like violently labeled as like blaming the mass, like the faceless masses, and trying to redirect blame and stuff like that. Whatever.
Right.
The basic gist of it is, I felt like NASL going under was a monumental moment in time. They had the WCS NA bid. They were a grassroots thing that came up from the very beginning, and then it did really big things. Was taking on different games. Was employing people, building studios. They were a big company, and they went under. And I think a lot of people assume that the very easy thing is like, they ran out of business, they're done, and then just move on. But what I was disappointed with is, even if that is the case, and Richard is suggesting that probably is the case, and he'll talk more about that in a second, but even if that is the case, I felt like there's so much more to be asked and then answered, and that's spearheaded by, of course, our journalist individuals, because they're the ones best suited for that job. But I was also disappointed that the community basically didn't want more, I guess is the best way to put that. Like, they were told, NASL gave an absolute shit, like a shit.
Yeah,
it was just like, look, EG makes soft PR messages, but this was like, like they were like, hey, we did great things, now we're done, okay, bye.
Yeah,
and it was
farewell,
like a paragraph.
Starcraft. Farewell.
Yeah, no answers, nothing. And of course you don't divulge. You don't say we went bankrupt, we failed. You don't say that, but you don't expect it from them, is I guess the point I'm trying to make. But it was especially glib, it was especially short, and the community was just like, oh, okay, yeah, they probably just ran out of money and they're done. There's so much more to be had there, and no, I'm not expecting this to be the smoking gun of esports, or like some kind of deep throat incredible story. Nothing like that, but more. This is a huge league that shut down. So that's why the thread is so shitty, is because I was mostly directing to the community to be like, hey guys, like, instead of getting really upset about chat logs between two immature players yelling at each other, which of course happens later, we should be like really concerned, really questioning what went into NASL crashing and why, and wanting to uncover the mistakes, and wanting to learn from it and to know more about it, because that's such a big deal. The second part was naming the journalist, and that's where I make more mistakes. The first one, hilariously, would be naming Thorin at all. The guy does like historical pieces and interviews, and is not an investigative journalist at all. So he actually slapped me in the face with his dick because he like just didn't respond, which is the greatest comeback you can ever do to someone. But what was funny is like some of his cronies, like, this was the thing I got the most shit for. Anytime I make a Reddit thread, I get yelled at. But this one, there was a couple people who were like, hey, Thorin does really good classical pieces, you son of a bitch. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have named it. Like, well, take it back and make a public fucking apology. I was like, all right, go fuck yourself. This is a really crazy person. But what I did like is that, we've had our spats with Richard and with Rod, and I think you should, by the way. I think if you agree with everything a journalist says, you're probably a dumbass. But they both handle it really awesome, where they just came in and were like, and again, Richard can speak for himself, but Rod in particular was just like, there's not a lot. They're kind of dodgy, and I should have done more, but I'll get to work on it. And then they were upvoted to the heavens, like, which is exactly what should have happened. The community got behind that and said, that's awesome. Thank you. And for the most part, as far as Reddit threads go, despite my shitty writing, despite the poor name of the thread, and despite naming Thorin, I thought it was nice because it didn't unleash a big drama bomb. That's not what I intended to do, and I didn't want it that way. It did not do. My main objective was to kind of wake up the community towards like wanting these answers. And the common term that's used there is pitchforking. That's not, again, it's kind of a gray area, but it's not what I want. I don't want you to kick down doors or threaten to have people fired and go berserk. I just want the community to be like, hey, what's going on here? You know, what's happening? Give us more answers.
Yeah.
They should have that. They should have the drive and thirst for knowledge, as opposed to whatever shitty answers given to them, they just kind of take it. And
Yeah.
again, one of the common accusations that gets thrown at me too is like, that's all fine and good as long as it's not about EG. I think that's a pretty fair criticism. I get pretty defensive about EG, but if you could hear me say this now and then also call me a liar or something like that in the future when I get mad about it, that's probably the best world. I want a community that fights for transparency, wants information. They won't always get it, and sometimes they'll be told that they shouldn't have it, but they should still want it. And I think that's the best world for not just esports, but for everyone.
I agree with that. I mean, that's kind of what we try to get here. I mean, we try to accomplish here, believe it or not. I mean, we try to have as much transparency as possible here. And I can tell you just right off the bat that even me, who's not a journalist, you know, trying to get down to the bottom of it, nobody would talk. I mean, nobody would come on the show. Nobody would say even a peep, you know, about it. So that's even just my experience, you know, just knowing a lot of those guys. But Richard, you want to give us an update?
Yeah. Well, look. First thing, just to lay this out there. Obviously, it's probably as well known me and Jeff have had some spats in the past. What probably is less publicized because neither of us publicized it was that we addressed that face to face. There was a very strange situation at the Home Story Cup where, you know, I could tell Jeff was looking over at me and I was looking over at him. I don't know if we, like star-crossed lovers, you know? Like, I don't know if either of us felt comfortable approaching the other one. Eventually, someone did. I think it was Jeff that manned up. He's bigger than me, so he's more manly. That goes without saying. And he came over to me and said, look, man, look, you know, I get where you were coming from. I admitted some of the things that I'd done wrong, which, you know, related to maybe using Jeff's image in relation to a story about EG as a whole, which while EG adopts the mantle of spokesperson, I don't think we should ever forget that actually he's just another guy who's on a roster. He feels so passionate and personally responsible. I think a lot of the stuff we aim negatively at EG, we aim at Jeff personally. And I kind of fueled that a little bit by using a picture, which I didn't think about the context at the time, but I should have done. But equally by the same token, you know, I think we found a common understanding.
Yeah.
So we don't hate each other. So anyone expecting sparks to fly, sorry to disappoint.
Actually, one sec, Rich. I think we're having some flickering issues. Let me see if I can.
Did you say
I thought you were about
flickering?
to, like,
Flickering issues.
No. The stream's flickering a bit. I think
thought you were about
Steven's here too, actually.
Bring it. You're like, that's where you're wrong. We have this quote here. I was like,
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Now let me restart this real quick.
Richard, did not just yesterday you burn an